Do not be deceived by the headlines. The whole bombing of Iran was straight up optics. That's all it was. They're feigning that they're taking all these hits and they're losing, but actually what they're doing is they're burning up all the high-level munitions of the U.S. and Israel in the West. These things that are going on in the geopolitics of the world are so significant because it's hyper-spiritual. They will get right up into Jerusalem, they will lay waste the majority of it, and then God shows up on behalf of his holy people. Everybody tracking? We're gonna get going today. Today is gonna be different, okay? I'm not gonna preach today. I'm going to teach today. Completely different postures, right? So today is gonna be more of a teaching. It's gonna be more didactic or academic, fun word to say. I'm gonna nerd out on you and have a lot of different data points for you, and particularly regarding Ezekiel 38 and 39 and Gog of Magog. This is very prescient and relevant right now because of what's going on in the Middle East and what it means for the future of not just the Middle East and of Israel, but of all the world. It is significant beyond comprehension. And here's why I want to discuss this. Because one, the haters are going to hate, and they're always saying all these little nasty gram things about Ezekiel 38 and 39. Oh, that doesn't even happen till after the millennial reign, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, bro, you just don't know the scriptures. Sorry. That's not arrogancy. That's not haughty. It says a fool delights in airing his own opinion, but takes no pleasure in understanding, right? That's a proverb. And it's like, no, there's actually two different events where Gog is loosed on the earth, because Gog has actually always been about the earth, because Gog is a ruling principality. It's not Putin. That's why. So Ezekiel 38 and 39 presupposes a lot of the events of the book of Revelation. And then in Revelation 19 and into 20, he's loosed again at the millennial reign, or at the end of the millennial reign. So two completely different events. And the reason why it's confusing to people is because they don't understand that Gog is a supernatural entity. It is a principality. It is not a person. Okay. So I just want to address that. And two, the relevancy of what's going on in the Middle East right now, because if you notice, everybody, especially the highest leader in this land, is proclaiming peace and security. Actually, even that much more particular, he is saying peace and prosperity is the exact language he keeps using. And as we'll see as we work through the scriptures, what he's actually saying, because they think, oh, we destroyed these 3 nuclear sites, when in reality, guess what? We didn't. It was all optics. Everything in Iran is underground. They're the Persian Empire. The Prince of Persia has been at work over that region and over the peoples for a long time as Gog of the Magogians, the Scythians, the Caucasians, and everything that comes out from that has been at work at the exact same time. So what's unique right now in real time is that these two entities, the Prince of Persia and Gog of Magog, have actually formed an unholy alliance at the behest of the dragon to do what comes next. So do not be deceived that somehow peace and prosperity and peace and security is on the horizon, because man, Israel and the U.S. really took a hit to the Iranians. That's not what's happening at all. Do not be deceived by the headlines. It is completely counter to the Bible. It is antagonistic. It is anathema to the scriptures. By the way, Gog of Magog, with Persians in tow and a whole bunch of other nations, are not just going to be repealed because we did a little 12-day war thing or whatever. They are biding their time very intimately at the behest of high-level, multi-dimensional spiritual warfare to come against Israel in such a way that the world's head will be spinning when this thing is done and over with. Gog of Magog, with the Persians, with the Iranians, and this other conglomerate of nations, will not only sweep across Israel, they will get right up into Jerusalem. They will lay waste the majority of it, and then God shows up on behalf of his holy people. Everybody tracking? Zechariah 14, Ezekiel 38 and 39, Jeremiah 50, 51. There's all kinds of stuff. Hosea, Amos, all of them speak to it, the same event. So I think it's very prescient that we address Ezekiel 38 and 39 in a very didactic, academic way so that we're not deceived. And there's a lot of people that probably need to be aware of this, and it's crazy how deep this thing goes, okay? So, and by the way, if you didn't know, I just think it's interesting. My thoughts on Iran are this, okay? I'll give you my thoughts. This is my informed speculation. The whole bombing of Iran was straight up optics. That's all it was. For the first 6 months of this presidential turn, it was straight optics. Not to say that they didn't do damage. They do some damage, but it's very limited damage, because if anybody knows anything about the Persians, and in particular the mountainous region of Persia, Iran is Persia, everybody understand, Elam in the Bible, Persia, Paras, has these different etymologies of the word. They are so deeply entrenched underground, they say there is not a single weapon, including high-yield nuclear weapons, in our arsenals that are capable of even cracking the ceilings in their deep underground military bases. So there's a military doctrine that's being played right now. What's it called? It's like Perfidious, where they're feigning that they're weak and that they're being destroyed, and they're feigning that they're making agreements and alliance and ceasefires, and they're feigning, it's called a Pyrrhic victory, where they're feigning that they're taking all these hits and they're losing, but actually what they're doing is they're burning up all the high-level munitions of the U.S. and Israel in the West. And they're just sitting there, just take it. Send all your jets. Bring all your different armadas of ships. Bring in, I think there's 3 carrier strike groups that are right now. Bring all your B-52 bombers in the air and your B-2 bombers and all these high stuff. Bring all this stuff to the region, and we'll sit here and take the hits. And it's called a Pyrrhic victory, where it looks like you're totally defeating us, but all the while, as we're looking defeated, it's actually you're the one who's suffering 100-fold greater than we ever could. And then at the appointed time, which is very interesting with regards to Gog and Magog, at the appointed time, they are going to reamass and assault Israel, and there'll be nothing left that anybody can do to protect them from it. So also this gets into the different degrees, whether it's in Ezekiel 30 and 38 and 39, there's a case that can be made for the Isle nations in the coastlands, speaking of the West of the United States of America, being laid waste with Gog and Magog. And then that makes way for some of the other aspects that we see in Scripture with regards to Revelation 18. Everybody tracking? You want to take notes? I take notes. There's a lot of stuff. Now, as a qualifier, some of this stuff is conjecture, because we do the best that we can with the information that's at hand. And as more information comes out, then we got to go, well, I got to shift this way a little bit, or I got to shift this way a little bit. It's not for lack of due diligence. There are a lot of competing is the wrong word. There's a lot of differing perspectives on Ezekiel 38 and 39. Just know that everybody's doing their due diligence to honor the Lord with the word in the fear of the Lord. So some scholars might lean a little bit this way. Some scholars might lean a little bit this way. We know in part, we see in part, we prophesy in part. Everybody's doing their due diligence, all right? To rightly honor the Lord, to navigate these things in a way that equips the saints to be on mission, carrying forward the gospel in a depth of the knowing of the lateness of the hour. Everybody tracking? Okay, so we'll get into it. Talk about a Pyrrhic victory. I talked about perfidy and perfidious maneuvering. That's exactly what's going on here. If you haven't noticed, every single time this administration says, we've secured a ceasefire, guess what happens within 72 hours? We obliterate something else. That is called perfidious maneuvering. It's a military doctrine where you deliberately, calculatedly manipulate trust, and it's a total deception of advanced militaristic treachery to get your enemy to lower their guard, and then that's exactly when you hit. Every single time they say peace and security and a ceasefire is being negotiated and whatever is being negotiated, then we hit them again. How do you think that's going to play out in the long run? How many times are you going to get punched in the face before you start punching back, right? Okay, just something to take note of. 1 Thessalonians 5, 1-6 says this, now, brothers and sisters, about the times and the dates, we don't need to write you, for you know very well. I hope you guys do. that you know very well. He's saying like, we already know this stuff, right? Like we shouldn't have to keep reiterating it. That the day of the Lord will come like a thief in the night while people are saying peace and safety, then sudden destruction will come. As labor pains on a pregnant woman, they will not escape. Okay, ladies, when you have your first contraction, what do you know is a certainty? The baby will be here. Maybe it's 4 hours, maybe it's a 48-hour labor. But you know, as soon as you feel the first contraction, it is a certainty. There is no turning back. That baby is coming, right? And what happens with those contractions over the duration of that birthing process? They get closer and closer, and they get more and more intense, right until the extremity of pain, and right after the extremity of the greatest pain, from what I hear, that a woman can experience in the land of the living, new life and joy. Sound familiar? Why do you think Christ is always using this? By the way, what's the gestation period of a human baby? Aren't all babies human? What is it? 40. It's 40 weeks. 40 years, 40 days. 40 days in the desert. He preached for 40 days. Then he said this for 40 days. Then God tested him for 40 days. Then the wilderness for 40 days. 40 means a time of testing, a time of trial, and a probationary period to see if you're going to be faithful with the word of God. That's what 40 signifies. So here, even the gestation period of a child is 40 weeks of testing, of trial, of hardship before new life is birthed. While people are saying peace and safety, destruction will come upon them suddenly as labor pains on a pregnant woman, and they will not escape. But you, brothers and sisters, are not in the dark, so that this day should surprise you like a thief. You are all children of light, children of the day. We do not belong to the night or the darkness. So then, let us not be like the others who are asleep, but let us be awake and sober. By the way, Strong's Concordance, the word for peace in this verse is Strong's 1515 and the lexicon, and it means peace, by implication, prosperity. The other word here, Strong's 803 for safety, means a firmness and a firmness of stability and a perceived immunity from threat or harm. So literally, while they are preaching a firmness from the end of a threat and increased prosperity in the world and in the life around you, that's when it's going to happen. If you didn't know that. Trump cannot stay away from his Twitter account, and makes very clear where he's at and what he's all about. The golden age and the time of peace and prosperity is upon us again this week. And the week prior to that, and the week prior to that, and the week prior to that. He's constantly talking about peace and prosperity, peace and prosperity. It is the golden age. It is the time. I'm going to broker the deal. I'm going to divide Israel. I'm going to save Gaza. I'm going to save Lebanon. I'm going to broker a deal with these normalized relations with the North Koreans. I'm going to broker a deal with Russia and Ukraine. I'm going to broker a deal with Israel and Iran. I'm going to broker a deal with Israel and Gaza. I'm going to do all these things. Serbia and Kosovo, he bragged about this week, what he's done there. All these different nation states in the Congo, what he's done there. And he's saying peace and prosperity, peace and prosperity. At the same time, in his perfidious military tactics, he keeps bombing all these places. And it says when they're saying this, then sudden destruction will come upon you. As recently as June 27th, he was bragging about all the different peace deals he's brokered and how much safety and prosperity he can bring to the world right now in real time. Bottom line is what we are witnessing in the Middle East and beyond is actually beyond words in its relevancy and its signification with regards to the word of the Lord and all that is going to come next. Timing is going to be fluid, right? And it's going to be hard to discern. However, inevitability is certain, just like that first contraction. Inevitability is certain. Imminency is at hand. It's just a little bit fluid as to the timing of it. Do not be lulled back to sleep as if the Iranians, the East, and Israel, the West, is some limited regional conflict that is now quieted. I'm here to tell you it hasn't even started yet. I said as soon as they did this whole big bombing run, I said, oh, that's not the war. That hasn't even started yet. That is like a preamble discussion that's being held between nations. That is not the war, because I know what they have underground. I know that since 2018, our U.S. Special Forces and our different Tier 1, Tier 2 guys have been training for underground tunnel fighting since 2018. $527 million budget just to train underground in tunnels. Did you guys know that? This has been a long time coming. A long time coming, and they are not backing off till they get what they want, because this is supernatural. This isn't geopolitical. Everybody understand that? Okay. So this is what I want to seek to thoroughly wrestle out today. We need understanding in this late hour so that we are not tossed to and fro by every headline and armchair YouTube prognosticator as to what is happening. We got to look at the scriptures and get wisdom and insight so that we can rightly navigate this. I've gleaned a lot of insights from Chuck Missler over the years, or Derek Gilbert does an amazing job going in. Like, he's masterful researcher, the etymology of names and people groups and languages and how things transfer. And then also my own personal studies for about 10 years on this very enigmatic subject. So that's the lens from which I'm coming at this from. And like I said, there may be some divergent perspectives in this area. That's fine. We're doing our best. Everybody's doing our best, right? So it's fine if there's competing views or perspectives on that. Just take it all in and then take it before the Lord. And as things progress, we'll get more insights and more information and go, oh my Lord, that's what's happening right now, right? One thing that I know for certain is that there is currently a unity among all the scholars to this very day that Gog, Magog, the prince of Persia, and the dragon, a supernatural, unholy coalition of forces is on the march. Every scholar I talk to, I'm not a scholar, I'm a researcher, totally different perspective, right? I'm not a scholar, I'm not an academic, I'm a dork, right? I don't know what I am. That was the nicest thing I could think of. I'm just a bro, just trying to honor the Lord, right? But they all agree on this singularity that the prince of Persia, Gog of the Magogians, right, and the Scythians and all these other guys, and the dragon are on the march right now in real time. Okay, Ezekiel 38 and 39, one of the most studied sections of scriptures in all the Bible because of the significance of the detail that it describes who is who and who is doing what. We don't have to guess and we don't have to speculate which nations are involved, who's in this alliance, and how they come about. Ezekiel 33 through 38 is all about the restoration of the Jews. That's what you need to know about this whole panorama of what Ezekiel's talking about is the regeneration of the heart of the Jews to look back on him who they've pierced and cry out for forgiveness and for repentance and to turn their hearts back to God. That's the entire intent of God allowing Gog of Magog with his coalition forces to come against Israel. Does everybody understand that? Is anything out of order with what's going on in the Middle East? Anything out of order? No, it's all out of order, but nothing's out of order. Everybody tracking? Ezekiel 33 through 36 deals with the return of Israel to the land. 37 is the valley of dry bones, right? Everybody's familiar with that, which sets the stage for Ezekiel 38 and 39. And he's like, can these bones live again? And he's like, I don't know, God. I don't know. And he's like, yes, they will. I'm actually going to bring them back into the land when they've been spread out for thousands of years or whatever, a couple thousand years, where I've scattered them, and then I'm going to bring them back to land, and then I'm going to restore them, and then I'm going to build them back up, and because they hate me and they hate my son Jesus, and they're going to rebel against me again, and then that is the context for Gog and Magog of Ezekiel 38 and 39. And then the rest of it, Ezekiel 40 through 48, deals with the millennial kingdom coming after the fact. So Ezekiel 38 and 39 is that tribulation is what some people think is pre-trib, some people think it's mid-trib, I think it's one of the initiating factors. A lot of the stuff that we see in the scriptures occurs first, then all this stuff. Everybody tracking? Very plain in the scriptures. All right. Ezekiel 38 and 39 is a unique occasion wherein God himself intervenes to destroy the destroyers, the coalition of nations who have come to lay waste to Israel, and they are highly successful at it. And it's the accounting of when God shows up on their behalf. It reads as, according to many scholars, even very conservative scholars, it reads as a nuclear conflagration occurs. There's many scholars that come to that conclusion. Is it? Don't know. That's just the general consensus, the way that it reads. In particular, Ezekiel 39 and same with Zechariah 14. It talks about their flesh rotting on their bones from a fiery heat while they're still standing. Their tongues are gone in their mouth and their eyes are gone in their mouth. Ezekiel 39 talks about a great fire coming from this and coming in, conflagration over the land. And then it takes 7 months. They wait to even go into the land. And then they have to have professional people that are hired out, that are professional with particular skill sets to go in to cleanse the land, to take care of all the bodies. And even if somebody finds a bone months later on the ground, they go, don't touch it, mark it, and then we'll come out and bury it. Sounds like some professional CBRN, chemical, biological, radiological groups out there cleaning the land. That's how it reads. So again, that's the general consensus. Conjecture, yes. That's just a general consensus. Okay. Here's the coalition listed in great detail. The word of the Lord came to me, son of man. This is Ezekiel 38. Set your face against Gog of the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. Prophesy against him and say, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I am against you, Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. I will turn you around, put hooks in your jaws, and bring you out with your whole army, your horses, your horsemen fully armed, and a great horde with large and small shields, all of them brandishing their swords. Persia and Cush and Put will be with them, all with shields and helmets. Also Gomer with all of its troops, and Beth Togarmah from the far north with all of its troops, and many nations with you. Get ready, be prepared, you and all the hordes gathered about you, and take command of them. So he's taking command of this coalition of forces, right? Gog of the Magogians. After many days, you will be called to arms. So it was not in Ezekiel's day. After many days. This is a future prophetic context that Ezekiel is speaking to. In future years, you will invade a land that has recovered from war, whose people will be gathered from many nations to the mountains of Israel. That's the Balfour Declaration, 1948 and onward, the restoration of Israel and all the peoples coming from all the nations to restore the nation of Israel overnight, which was prophetic fulfillment as well too. I digress. They have been brought out from the nations, and now all of them live in safety. You and all your troops and the many nations with you will go up advancing like a storm, and you will be like a cloud covering the land. This is what the sovereign Lord says. On that day will also come into your minds. By the way, that's one of the most significant words that is missing from most people's translations. King James maintains that word, and the ESV maintains that word. Most other translations have omitted that word. That word also changes the context of everything if that word also is not in your scriptures. So now there is an other event that it is speaking to that is going to happen at the same time that Gog and Magog are doing what they're doing. And also at that time. Okay? It's a secondary event. On that day, thoughts will also come into your mind, and you will devise an evil scheme. You will say, I will invade the land of unwalled villages. By the way, is Israel a land of unwalled villages? It is the most walled off area on the face of the earth. They have a 480-mile, 25-foot wall around everything. Each person's individual, if anybody's been in the Middle East, they all have walls. Everything's walled. Each home is walled. Everything's hyper secure in the Middle East because of the amount of war and bandits and stuff like that they're always battling. So it is one of the most walled villages, nation states ever is the land of Israel. What is a nation that has no walls, no barriers, that says, I'll never be a widow, I'll never see harm, no harm will ever befall me? The United States of America has no walls, not even at our borders. Nowhere. Okay, I digress. We'll get into it. I'll get there. On that day will also come into your mind, and you will devise an evil scheme. You will say, I will invade a land of unwalled villages. They already invaded Israel, so it's talking about a completely separate thing here. I will attack a peaceful and unsuspecting people. In the Hebrew, it says, a people who dwell in perceived safety. Perceived safety. They think they're safe, but they're not at all. That's how it renders in the original context. All of them living without walls and without gates and without bars. And I will plunder and I will loot and turn my hand against the resettled ruins and the people gathered from the nations. So a land of immigrants, rich in livestock and goods, living at the center of the land. Sheba and Dedan and the merchants of Tarshish and all of her strong lions, so all of her colonies, all of her offshoots, will say to you, have you come to plunder? Have you come to gather hordes to loot and to carry off silver and gold and take away livestock and goods and seize much plunder? Therefore, son of man, prophesy and say to Gog, this is what the sovereign Lord says. In that day, when my people Israel are living in safety, will you not take notice of it? Will you come from your place in the far north, you and many nations with you, all of them riding on horses, a great horde, a mighty army? You will advance against my people Israel. God's commanding them. God puts the hook in his jaw. God says, you will advance against my people Israel. He's commanding them to do this thing because there's a way bigger wisdom and purpose at stake here. You will advance against my people Israel like a cloud that covers the land. In the days to come, Gog, I will bring you against my land so that the nations may know me when I am proved holy through you before their eyes. There you go. And it goes on. And it goes on, and it goes on. But that's the gist of it. So let's get into who these people groups are and why it's relevant to understand with regards to the lateness of the hour. Magog. The people of Magog is a people group. Gog is a chief ruling prince, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal over this people group of Magog. The Magogians, or Magog as a people group, is historically by all historians, all ethno-historians, to be the Scythians. Most people aren't familiar with Scythians, but they're actually so significant that they're specifically mentioned in Colossians 3:11. There's neither Jew nor Greek, nor Scythian nor barbarian, because they were known as one of the greatest, wicked, demonically infused, barbarous people groups in the history of the face of the earth, that they're even mentioned in the scriptures, all right? They are the most extreme manifestation. These are the Magogians and the Scythians. We'll get into that here in a minute. Gog is a demon king and a principality title is what it means to be Gog. It is not Putin. Quit saying, anybody saying it's like, it's not a man, just like the Ayatollah Khomeini is not, that's not the Prince of Persia. There's ruling principalities that are over these nations, just like America has one as well too. Amaruka, the land of the winged plumed serpent, the seraphim, a rebel seraphim from the garden is America. Amaruka. From Central and South America and Mesoamerica, the Inca and the Mayans and the Aztecs all worshipped him. Quetzalcoatl, the winged plumed serpent. Everybody tracking. There is a ruling principality that has charge over these nations. I digress. This entity, this Gog ruling principality entity is so significant to Scripture that he actually reappears 1,000 years later after this Gog and Magog invasion of Israel. That is the millennial reign. This is your Revelation 20 that people overlap and confuse, which is why people get in these weird carnal debates. That doesn't glorify the Lord. It doesn't glorify. You can have discussions, but we shouldn't be ripping each other apart because your perspective is a little bit different than my perspective. Bottom line is they're two completely separate loosings of Gog, of the Magogians. Everybody tracking? We good? Moving on. A lot of confusion about that stuff. Gog, much like the prince of Persia and other high-ranking territory or principalities, are eternal. Therefore, they raise up their wicked heads with their wicked plots and schemes only as God allows them to at appointed times to accomplish very particular purposes. Is anything out of order? No, nothing's out of order. Gog, the chief prince of Rosh. Amos 7, 1 through 3 speaks about, he's speaking about the locust army and what God shows him, different aspects. We know Joel has a locust army, book of Revelation, Apollyon is loose from bottomless pit. He's a king over this locust army that amasses. Amos speaks to this locust army. But guess what it says in the Septuagint, not in what our Bibles say, regarding who this king is. In Amos 7, 1 through 3. It says, the transliteration of it is, the Lord has shown me, and behold, a swarm of locusts are coming. And behold, one of the devastating locusts was Gog the king. Why is that significant? It's significant because Proverbs 30:27 says that the locusts have no king. So then why is this now saying the locusts do have a king? Because even the scriptures are so good to us to make a very deliberate differentiation between locusts who are pestilence-based judgment that God uses versus demonic hordes with ruling principalities over them. And it makes it very clear who this Gog is and what he's all about. He's a chief prince, he's over these things, and he's the king of these locust armies. Super significant. It's actually a Hebraic idiom describing a powerful ruling principality. Gog, the king of these locusts. Revelation 9, 1 through 12 says the same thing. And they had a king over them, the angel of the abyss, over the locust army. So it's speaking of something pretty significant that's getting ready to break out on the scene. Okay, going back to the Magogian people. It's a people group that were known as the Scythians by the Greeks. Hesiod and Herodotus only ever referred to this people group as Scythians. They dominated what is known today as, anybody? Russia. It is what we know of as the Slavic peoples to this day. Russia, or the southern steppes of Russia, from 10 BC all the way up to modern day. Meshech and Tubal are identified by historians as the Sarmatians and the Muscovites who lived in northern Asia. Herodotus listed that Muscovites from where we get the word Moscow to this day. This is who the Magogians are. They are a very particular people group. Meshech was known as a barbarous people known as the Moski from the Moskian Mountains, hence the etymology of the rival of the chief city of the Magogian people of today, which is Moscow. Okay, told you it's going to be academic. We're following etymology, so you go, oh, that's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. That, like, I'm seeing that in real time. Okay, I got the context for it. Rosh, he's known as, Gog was talked about as a chief prince of Rosh, was the people living in the northern Tarsus mountains near the Volga River. By the way, the Volga River only runs through Russia, and 50% of it, 50% of the entire river basin is contained with one area of Russia. So there again, it's affirming the identity of this people group, of this nation state that's going to come against Israel. Magog are the Scythians. This people group maintained an empire, listen to this, that stretched all the way from Ukraine to China. From Ukraine, anybody hearing any alliances going on here? Who's been flying all the missiles into Iran? China and Russia. Who's been doing all these different things? China and Russia and Iran, and then all the Shia Islamic nations along with them. In fact, the Magogian Scythian people went all the way into the territory of the Medes, as well as what is modern day Turkey. Oh, now let's add that one to the coalition. So from Turkey, Ukraine, all the way out to, I'm doing it backwards. I'm seeing it in my mind facing you. I'm looking at the globe in my pea brain right now on what's going on. Sorry, flat earthers, I said globe. You can send me emails. Oh. Have you guys seen the International Flat Earther website? It says teaching flat earthers all around the globe for decades. Just saying, flat earthers, you better get your facts straight. Watch the comments on this one. Okay. Where was I at? Okay. They went all the way from the Medes, all the way to modern day Turkey, eventually settling around the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea by the Dnieper River and the Don River, the very region right now that Putin is intent on recapturing. Everything that's going on in Ukraine is on the Don River and the Dnieper River. Do you understand why now? Why this is so significant? These things that are going on in the geopolitics of the world are so significant because it's hyper spiritual. It's arcane and ancient, and it ain't going anywhere. It's only going to escalate, okay? The focus of the world right now, what is it? Ukraine, Russia, China, the Middle East, with a focus on Israel and Iran. Are we paying attention yet? You want to know what else is unique about the Scythian Magogian people? Who, you guys know, a big region of that Russia, these Slavic nations, is referred to as the Caucasus, right? Have you all heard that word? From which we get the word Caucasian. Well, you might not want to call yourself Caucasians anymore. Check a box for other on your paperwork. Okay? Because the Caucasians were derived from the ethnic designation of Caucasians with its modern day Slavic Russia-speaking peoples. And the root of Caucasian is Gog Hassan, which literally translates to Gog's fort. The fort of Gog. The Caucasus, the Caucasus Mountain. You all as Caucasians, if you are a Caucasian or whatever your ethnic origin are known as Gog's fort. Think about that. This is how significant when you see these geopolitical things happening, they're not isolated. This is hyper supernatural spiritual warfare breaking out into the natural. By the way, the Canaanites are the descendants of the Canaanites because all these people groups, most of them are of the lineage of Japheth, one of Noah's grandsons, right? Japheth. These are Noah's grandsons. So all these tribes are actually listed in Genesis 10. It talks about Gogs and the Sinites and the Canaanites and Meshech and Tubal and Togarmah. They're actually very particular genealogies that are listed in scriptures all the way back in Genesis 10. And here they are in modern times still having their effect on humanity to the destruction of Israel. That's why there's an obsession with the destruction of Israel. It is arcane in nature. It's insane. So, as one of this lineage, along with Magog and the Gogians and the blah, 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 is the Canaanites. Who are the Canaanites? Have you guys heard me mention China at all yet? Somehow being in the mix with the Scythians, the Magogians, the whateverians, right? Well, guess who the descendants of the Canaanites are. Are you ready for them? Sidon, Gaza, Sodom, Gomorrah, and the Sinites, from which we get the Chinese. So the Sinites are direct descendants of the Canaanites and of Sidon, Gaza, Sodom, and Gomorrah. The Sinites. Have you ever heard of the Sino Wars? To this day, we still refer to the Far East, to the Chinese and the Far East Asian people groups as the Sino or the Sinites. That is the word we use today still in biological anthropology. Did you guys know that? It's literally because they're descendants of the Canaanites as listed in Genesis 10. So now you get context for why all these things matter. The same people, these are the same people who claim to be descendants of the dragon. Hello. Actually, the transliteration in Chinese is that they are heirs of the dragon. We are heirs of the Son of the one true God and co-heirs with Christ Jesus. They say, no, we are heirs of the dragon. There's a song in China called The Descendants of the Dragon, which sings, there was a group of people in the ancient East. All of them were descendants of the dragon. I grew up under the feet of the giant dragon. And when I grew up, I became the heir of the dragon. With black hair, black eyes, and yellow skin, will always be the descendants of the dragon. Do you understand the depth of warfare that's coming and why it's coming? Have you ever noticed the iconography in all things Ophidian and reptilian and humanoid in nature, and all things Leviathan and fiery and primordial and primeval in China and all the Far East? You think there's a reason why? There's a very particular deity and entity that they worship and venerate and that they choose to make sure they only remain heirs of without coming into Christ Jesus. The Great Wall of China is not called the Great Wall of China. You know what it's referred to by all historians? Anybody know? The ramparts of Gog and Magog. The Great Wall of China has only ever been known as the ramparts of Gog and Magog by the earliest historians who ventured that far east. Are we starting to get the connection points as we see these things amassing in the world right now? Have you ever listened to any of the interviews I've done? Do you guys listen to interviews that I do? It's fine if you don't. I get it. I talk a lot all the time anyways without listening to interviews. Okay, because we talk differently here than what I do on interviews, right? But if you've ever listened to interviews wherein I've described the Russian and the Chinese intrinsic nepotism and how China is only ever a proxy of Russia, you guys heard me say that? It's the Chinese Communist Party. Where did communism originate from? From the Bolsheviks, from the Tsars through Madame Blavatsky to the Tsars, and the Bolshevik Revolution. Then you get communism, which is only arcane Luciferianism, and then you get all these other communist offshoots all around the face of the earth. China is a proxy of Russia. I don't care what the West has told you and what the Crown has told you because they wanted to monetize Hong Kong and do their opium wars and all this stuff. We got to know our history. There's a lot of things that are at play right here in real time. So have you ever listened to my interviews where I say that the Russia-Chinese is a nepotism-based alliance where China is only a mechanism of Russia, and Russia is only ever a mechanism of theosophy, which was taught to the Tsars by Madame Blavatsky, and how theosophy is only other a mechanism of Canaanitic mystery religion practitioner. Wait, is China one of the descendants of the Canaanites? Oh, that's right, they are. Okay, Theosophy is only a Canaanitic-based mystery religion of ancient dark arts and the mastery of Nimrodian worship, which is only ever a mechanism of pre-flood Luciferianism as passed down through generations. And then typically, I go on to say something like, and the entirety of the beast system, if you pay close attention to the scriptures, is communist socialism on steroids and enforced globally. Pay attention. Everything belongs to the state, to the superstate, and there is no private ownership, there's no private property, and then the government, this global government, dictates what you have and what you're allowed to have and what you can do and blah, 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 and they create this, it's a giant communist globalistic system focused on the worship and praise of the Antichrist, imbued and empowered by the dragon. Everybody's seeing how all this is connected. This geopolitics going on is not normal. This isn't just normal countries grinding it out for a little bit of extra money on their fiat currencies and their tariffs and all that kind of stuff. It's way bigger than that. This is why the global elite and the lunatic left are obsessed with socialism and Marxism and Leninism, because it is Luciferianism. And this is how it all come about through the perestroika deception that both Russia and China will lay waste the United States in a single day, in a single hour. Single day, single hour. I saw smoke arising from all of her cities. You guys are familiar with Henry Gruver and Dmitry Duduman and Pastor David Wilkerson, and many of you have had dreams and visions, and I've had dreams and visions, and people all over the face of the earth have had dreams and visions of the exact same destiny, for lack of a better word, of the United States of America, which is a single day lay wasted by the Russians and Chinese. Are you getting the context for it now? Is it making sense? My statements are not ill-conceived prognostications for clickbait sensationalism. It is the Bible coming alive in real time. So everybody says, oh, it's clickbait. Oh, he's trying to monetize stuff. It's like, whatever, dude, I'm not even monetized. Just read your scriptures. It's all right there, plain as day. These are the things that Daniel was commanded to seal up for the time of the end of the age that is now being made known. Our knowledge is increasing of these things in rapid expansion. Like the word is coming to life. It's coming off the pages because we're the generation that was foreknown to be able to understand it. Nobody could understand it in the past. So, Magog, Rosh, Message, and Tabul, even all the way out to China, to the ramparts of Gog and Magog, all the way up into Turkey, down into Ukraine, and all these areas are Scythians, are modern days Russians and Slavs with a ruling principality over them of Gog. Everybody tracking? How about Persia? Let's talk about Persia for a minute, because Persia is going to roll out with them. And by the way, who is arming all these nations around Israel to come against Israel? Who is arming them? The Russians. It's all Russian. It's all Russia and China. All the logistics, all the military industrial complex, their ability to amass industry is all going to Russia. By the way, there is a tactical pause right now between Israel and Iran because heavy lift aircraft after aircraft after aircraft from both Russia and China are coming into Tehran in massive waves. They are rebolstering all their anti-aircraft defense systems, and they're preparing for what they're going to do next. And again, as we read in Ezekiel 38 and 39, they're going to be highly successful. One of these days, they're going to be highly successful because the Lord has put the hooks in their jaw to drag them out to do this thing. Okay? So, Persia is Iran, is Paras, is, you know what their original name was? What they were referred to all throughout history? The Aryans. Interesting. The Prince of Persia is the one who leads the Aryan race. This is huge to understand. They were only ever referred to in all of history as the Indo-Aryans. An Aryan people with a demonically driven ruling principality over them to become a master race through the bloodlines of the gods of old. Literally, Persian is the Prince of Persia elucidated all throughout the scriptures are the Aryans. Do you understand why there's such a bloodlust and obsession with the destruction of Israel? Do you get it now? These things are high level. The Aryans are associated with the Persians, predominantly with India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and all Vedic peoples. This shouldn't be lost on any students of history. And all this has come out of the regions with some of the highest level occultic practices on the face of the earth. Now, let me tie this into Germany and Nazism for you. By the way, Gomer is one of the nations listed that's going to come against Israel in this coalition, right? The people of Gomer were the Cimmerians, with a C, not the Sumerians, but the Cimmerians, Cimmerians, Cimmerians people, which settled along the Rhine and the Danube River. Gomer is the German people. If you didn't know, where the Nazis gained their understanding of the Aryan race and descendants of the gods and how to do this genetic breeding thing, it's because they went to Nepal, to the Himalayas, to study under the monastic Buddhist monks. I thought they were peace-loving, to teach them how to master this idea of the Prince of Persia and the Indo-Aryan race superiority to justify obliterating the Jews. Did you know that that's where they learned it from? They learned it from the Buddhists in Nepal, who are this people group of Gog and Magog with the Prince of Persia and the Aryan race ruling over them. That's why this stuff is so fascinating. It didn't happen in a vacuum. So now again, pay attention to Ezekiel 38 and 39, which nations are listed by name. The Thule Society, or Thule Society, entered into politics in 1919 through the German Workers' Party. By the way, who rose up the German Workers' Party? Oh, the United States of America, that's right. Oh wait, who made Adolf Hitler Time Magazine's Man of the Year? Oh, the United States. Wait a minute. Who sent Julian and Aldous Huxley, our leaders and our titans of mass media campaign and propaganda and marketing, to Germany to teach them how to create a massive campaign? Oh, the USA. Oh, wait. What industry titans were flown to Germany in the 1930s to teach them how to industrialize a solution to do it on a whole scale corporate industrial level to be as efficient as possible? The United States. Henry Ford. He took his mass production of automobiles to Germany and taught them everything they need to know. By the way, IG Farben, which is the greatest pharmakia on the face of the earth, which was perfected in the concentration camps on the Jews, is what is now called Bayer aspirin, because we brought them in after they perfected it in the concentration camp. Oh, by the way, Jet Propulsion Laboratory and NASA, JPL, was founded by Werner von Braun, a Nazi scientist who we equipped. He said, go master it over there, and then we'll bring you over here, and we'll allow you to keep going. Don't worry, nobody's going to charge you with war crimes. Do you guys know all these things? Okay, so we'll get in the context about when God finally does business with Gog of Magog and the isles and the coastlands who helped him do what he did. Okay? It's going somewhere. Anyways, Nazism. I could talk about that forever. The German Worker Party sent a delegation to go recruit the top-tier monastic Buddhist monks and brought them to Germany where the Anernabi and these different aspects of the SS, there are all these little groups of the SS, could be taught the mastery of Arianism, which is the Prince of Persia. Everybody tracking? So now do you understand the insatiable hatred for any of God's people to lay waste them from the face of the earth? It's supernatural. It's supernatural in ways we can't even comprehend. The Tibetan monks of the Himalayas, peace-loving people, are the ones who taught them how to do what they wanted to do. Okay, let's talk about Iran and their 12th Imam, Shia Islam, bent theocratic processes for the end of the age. Are you guys familiar with the 12th Imam and what Shia Muslims believe about that? They believe that it is their duty to usher in the Mahdi, which is our Antichrist. To them, it's their Messiah. They believe that they must create a global conflagration through warfare that they initiate, that they have an active role in bringing about the Mahdi, the 12th Imam, where then this 12th Imam will rule and reign over all the face of the earth collectively under a new Islamic caliphate. Don't worry, Jesus is coming with them too, but he's not our Jesus. He's a different Jesus according to the Quran. Did you guys know that? And so they believe that it is their role that when the great Satan, the United States of America, and the little Satan, Israel, or did I flip that, are lay wasted and they foment a great conflagration over the face of the earth, that's when their Mahdi can return and they will have their counterfeit millennial utopic reign under Islamic caliphate. Did you know that? Okay, so now when you hear Persia and Iran and all these things, your mind should go to a way higher level of the reality of what's taking place and what comes next. Do not be deceived by the U.S. Western-centric media vomit brokers that are lying to you. It's completely antithetical to the scriptures. While they are preaching peace and prosperity, peace and safety, then. Oh, wait, there's more. Should be a TV salesman. The original Scythian language, who are the Scythians? Who are they? Russians, okay? All Slavic peoples, all the way out to China, all the way up to Turkey. The original Scythian language was derived from one source alone in the etymology of languages. Do you know what it is? Indo-Aryanism. Today, they don't say Indo-Aryanism because everybody doesn't like that word because of what the Nazis did. So now it's literally called Indo-Iranianism. So literally, the Russian language is derived from the Aryan race, Prince of Persia, Gog, doing all this thing the whole time to get us to this point in time where Ezekiel 38 and 39 are totally laid out in plain sight. The Prince of Persia and Gog of Magog and the dragon of the eastern peoples and the Antichrist figure in Shia Islam are right now a supernatural coalition that spans thousands of years, that is intent on the destruction of Israel since who knows when, that has been restrained by God but allowed limited effects against his people over the millennial to accomplish his purpose, that is now in real time conspiring in full prophetic fulfillment for their last great assault against God's holy people and all of its resultant chaos on the face of the earth and all the beast system components that come out of it. Does everybody understand how late the hour is? Yeah. This is how late the hour is. It's to bring about this thing over the face of the earth. Let me address Gomer. Wait, I already did. Okay. That's Germany and the Slovakian peoples set along the Danube and the Rhine. Togarmah, one of the other nations listed there. That is modern-day Turkey and Armenia. Think about the Armenian genocide at the hands of the Ottomans. You think there's a reason for that? They're specifically listed as among those who have Gog as their chief prince ruling over them. Armenians today are called, guess what? Guess what they're only referred to today? The House of Togarmah. That's what you call an Arminian. You're of the house of Togarmah. It's never changed. We just, in the West, are dumb and highly undereducated. And most Christians are biblically illiterate. But it's all there, plain for us to know and understand what's actually going on in our time. And by the way, if you look at the Ottoman Empire, think of who the Ottomans were. Prince of Persia, now Gog. These two ruling principalities overlay the Ottoman Empire is virtually an exact replica of all the nations listed in Ezekiel 38 and 39 that come against Israel at the end of the age. Cush and Put and all these guys are Nimrodian descendants, all of which are in North Africa and the Horn of Africa. That's Ethiopia, Eritrea, Somalia, Libya, all these North African nations. That's Cush and Put and these other nations that are listed that are all Shia Islamic is their vast majority of their religion. What's Shia Islam again? What do they believe in? The 12th Imam and the coming of the Mahdi, that they must initiate global world war in order to bring him onto the scene. Everybody tracking? Okay, pressing on. Where is the United States in prophecy? Has anybody ever heard anybody ask that? People ask that all the time. If we're so significant and we're so powerful and we're the hammer in all the earth and we're the blah, 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 and we're this, like, where are we? It's like all of a sudden we're the most significant superpower empire in the history of humanity. If you didn't know that, go ahead and do your linear studies, comparative historical studies. The U.S. is the greatest, most expansive, most significantly wealthy and influential empire ever on the face of the earth in the history of humanity. And we haven't been around that long. And then all of a sudden, never mentioned again. No place, no role, not spoken to, or are we? So I'll go on. Now, I'll give a qualifier. Is this conjecture? Absolutely, it's conjecture. But it's informed conjecture when you start taking in all these different components about who we are and what we do in the history of it. So we'll get into it. Verse 10 through 12. Pressing on in Ezekiel 38, it says this, "Thus says the Lord God, it shall also come to pass that at that time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought, and thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest and dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls, having neither bars nor gates, to take a spoil, to take a prey, to turn thy hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, upon the people that are gathered out of the nations, which have gotten cattle and goods and dwell in the midst of the land." The motivation of Gog and Magog to come against this other people group and this land of unwalled villages is to take spoils that serve their national interests. That's it. It's just to take whatever they have. They have a lot of really good stuff, and they're coming to actually plunder them. Verse 13 goes on. "Sheba and Dedan and the merchants of Tarsus and all of her young lions will say, have you come to plunder? Have you gathered your hordes to loot, to carry off silver and gold and take away the livestock and to seize their plunder?" They're nail-biting going, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe they just invaded us." Sheba and Dedan and the merchants of Tarshish and all of her young lions. Let's work through that because this is radically significant. Sheba and Dedan are simple. We don't got to go deep into that. That is the Arabian Peninsula. Think of who our strategic allies are. It's everybody on the Arabian Peninsula. It's Saudi Arabia and MBS and all these guys, like, because they're Sunni Islam, they're not Shia Islam. Most people don't know these things. So we actually do in the West have a strong alliance within the Arab populace that is on the Saudi Arabian Peninsula, that is Sheba and Dedan. But who are the merchants of Tarshish? Tarshish. Does anybody know? Anybody have any context for who they are? It is the British Isles. Always has been and always will be. The merchants of Tarshish with all of her young lions. All the colonies that come out from this great, masterful merchant ship-based empire that was able to project itself around the face of the earth and has all these colonies established all the world are the ones that are going, oh my goodness, what is happening? The center of exports for Tarsus was tin. That's mentioned throughout the Bibles. Britannia actually literally means the place of tin. And all of the metals used to initiate the Bronze Age in Phoenicia came from Britannia. Ships of Tarsus is a term that was used to describe an incredibly large merchant ship fleet which carried and exchanged goods for exceedingly great wealth and established powerful colonies all over the face of the earth. That's who Tarsus is. Let's go on. Ezekiel 38, verse 17. This is what the sovereign Lord says. You are the one I spoke of in former days by my servant, the prophet of Israel. At that time, they prophesied for years that I would bring you against them, a future event. This is what will happen in that day. When Gog attacks the land of Israel, my hot anger will be aroused, declares the sovereign. Remember, God's bringing Gog, but then he's like, okay, now it's my turn to deal with you, Gog. Everybody tracking? It's like how the Lord calls Cyrus, he says, my righteous one. He calls Nebuchadnezzar, my righteous one. He talks about, don't quote me in this, Isaiah 14, when he's like, I'm bringing my righteous ones. It actually says Rephaim, the giants back on the earth to do this thing. Like God uses wicked leaders and rulers and they're instruments of his righteousness. That's why he calls them my righteous ones. Everybody understand that? So here he is saying, I'm going to bring you, Gog, against Israel. And then when you come against Israel, I'm going to get super ticked off and then I'm going to destroy you too. Everybody tracking? That's what's going on here. Okay. When Gog attacks the land of Israel, my hot anger will be aroused, declares the sovereign Lord. In my zeal and fiery wrath, I declare that at that time there shall be a great earthquake in the land of Israel. The fish in the sea, the birds in the air, the beasts of the field, every creature that moves along the ground, and all the peoples on the face of the earth will tremble at my presence. It is a global event of undeniable significance when the Lord acts, right? The mountains will be overturned, the cliffs will crumble, and every wall will fall to the ground. I will summon a sword against Gog on all my mountains, declares the sovereign Lord. Every man's sword will be against his brother. I will execute judgment on him with plague and bloodshed. I will pour down torrents of rain, hailstones, and burning sulfur on him and on his troops and on the many nations with him. And so I will show my greatness and my holiness, and I will make myself known in the sight of many nations. Then they will know that I am the Lord. Now pay attention to what he starts saying in Ezekiel 39. Son of man, prophesy against Gog and say, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I'm against you, Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. I will turn you around and drag you along. I will bring you from the far north and send you against the mountains of Israel. Then I will strike your bow from your left hand and make your arrows drop from your right hand. On the mountains of Israel you will fall, you and all your troops and all your nations. I will give you as food to all the carrion birds and the wild animals. You will fall in the open fields, for I have spoken, declares the Lord God Almighty. And here's where it gets interesting. And I will send fire on Magog and all those who live in safety in the coastlands. The other translation is all those who live carelessly in the isles. And they will know that I am the Lord your God. I will make known my holy name among my people, and I will no longer let my holy name be profaned. And the nations will know that I am the Lord, the Holy One of Israel. It is coming. It will surely take place, declares the sovereign Lord. This is the day I have spoken of. It's no joke. It's no joke when the Lord starts acting. Let me dig into this. The coastlands and the isle nations that God will destroy, along with Gog and all his hordes of Magog. These are the ones that sit carelessly in arrogance and a faulty sense of security. Those who say that this is happening far from here and we have nothing to worry about. Those who live in extreme luxury and yet are merchants and consumers over all the earth. Those who say, as they do in Revelation 18, I'll never be a widow. I'll never see harm. No disaster will befall me. Sits arrogantly as a queen upon her throne. Those whose place is far off from the war, yet seemingly have it hidden hand in all the mechanisms that are happening around the earth. Those are the ones that God sees and hears that are actually conspiring against his people Israel behind the curtain, behind the veil, that he says, I'm coming for you too. You thought that you could live carelessly in a land far away and go, well, at least it's not happening here. That's happening far over here. He says they will be destroyed with fire. Just like Revelation 18 at the destruction of Mystery Babylon. Suddenly, single day, single hour, smoke arising from all of her cities. Because she said, I sit far off and all this wealth and luxury, and ain't nothing going to happen to me. But we're the hammer in all the earth that stir the pot everywhere else to our own ends. So let me lead you into something both fascinating and terrifying. Are you ready for it? It's something that very few people know and understand. Who are the British Isles? Who is Britannia? What are their edifices? What is on all their crest? What is on all their shields? What is in all their family lineages? And where have they descended from? And what are they rooted in? What is the City of London? And what is the Lord Mayor's show? By the way, if you didn't know, the City of London is a sovereign protectorate enclave within London. Does that make sense? Okay, the best way to explain it is Rome, you have Italy, nation, then you have Rome, city, but then within Rome, what does the Catholic Church have? The Vatican. So the Vatican is sovereign territory. It is not Rome, it just happens to be in Rome. It's its own particular territory, just like the District of Columbia. It's not a state, it's not a whatever, it is a sovereign thing. London, the city, has the City of London. Everybody catch that? London, the city, has what's called the City of London within it. And every year, the City of London hosts what's called the Lord Mayor's Show. It was implemented by King Henry IV, and it is known as the singular symbol of English, British power and might. It began in 1189. Think how long ago this was. This is the longest running pageant in all of world history. That's how significant it is. It is the longest and most venerated pageant in all of world history. Keep that in mind as I work through this and we get to the conclusion of why I'm talking about this. King Henry V has standardized the English language. He made it the lingua language of England and all of its future colonies, all the young lions. They used to refer to the colonies of the British Isles as the young lions of the crown. Keep that in mind. The merchants of Tarsus and all of her young lions, right? He was the inspiration for the majority of Shakespearean writings, as well as colonial expansionism. He was the one who started the colonial expansionism of the British Empire. He's renowned as the father of nationalism and patriotism, and he's used as a template for British colonial power and progress, in particular in the American colonies. I'm saying all these things for a reason. I'm trying to dot connect for you, right? He's considered the undefeated military genius of the ages, as well as advancing all academia that founded the West. Again, in particular, the American colonies. This is who established the Lord Mayor's Show in the City of London. Oh yeah, and by the way, he was the Prince of Wales before becoming king. That should ring true in your ears if anybody knows anything about King Charles. He implemented the Lord Mayor's Show to be held in the City of London each and every year. Listen carefully to this. It is the oldest, longest, and most beloved procession in the world to date, beginning in 1189. The oldest, longest, and most beloved procession in the world. You think of like a Mardi Gras or whatever, all these other weird crazy things that all these nations do every year. And this is the oldest one in the world. Pay attention. At the head of the show, of the Lord Mayor's Show, every year, I think this year is in November, is when it happens, there are two wicker giants. Or, wicker, by the way, is a Druidic priest. That's what it means. Two Druidic, Celtic, pagan priests that are at the lead of the procession, and they are giant effigies of these wicker men, to whom historically all the British Isles, the Druids and the Celts, would only offer child sacrifice to these two wicker, Druidic, Celtic, priestly deities. It was ritualistic sacrifice. By the way, Burning Man, what do you think Burning Man? Burning Man is a Druidic, Celtic procession. They would create these actual wicker, wooden effigies filled with children, huge, giant things, and then they would light it on fire. That's what's going on at Burning Man. By the way, wasn't it a dude from Durango that ran into the Wicker Man fire? Wasn't it? The dude was from Durango. Remember that a couple of years ago? Maybe you don't if you're not into pop culture. But which is one of the most wicked, occultic, licentious, orgy, demonic infused gathering on the face of the earth every year. Of course, in the desert, in the dry places, where haunt and hideout for every foul and unclean spirit, right? And then they gather there and they do all their microdosing and they channel Lucifer. That's what they do at Burning Man. Well, a Durangatang, a dude from Durango, is the guy that when they lit the Wicker Man on fire a couple of years ago, sprinted right into it in a demonic fervor as a self-sacrifice. If you didn't know that, welcome to the party. Okay. So that's these Lord Mayor show. Getting back on track. 2 giant wickers, Druidic Celtic priests. By the way, you should research the Druids and the Celts if you haven't. It's the only people group that the Roman legions, as they came over, said, we've never seen something. They've already done with the Goths, the Visigoths, the Gauls, the Germanic tribes, the whatever, the Scandinavian tribes. They've already dealt with the Berserkers, which was a race of giants that they had to fight. They've already dealt with all kinds of people. And then as Rome's expand, they get to the British Isles and they go, they're the most demonic, wicked things on the face of the earth we've ever seen. We're the inhabitants of what we know as the Great Britain. That's according to all the Roman legionnaire writings. They said they'd never seen something so wicked, so evil and demonic as the people of the British Isles. I digress. We'll move on. Here is where the mythos of the founding of Great Britain comes from, that is embedded in this greatest procession ever, every year at the Lord Mayor show with these 2 wicker Druidic priests at the head of it. Diocletian, the Roman emperor, had 33, that number should ring a bell, horrifically wicked daughters that he could not retain whatsoever, could not control them. So then he decided, maybe if I give them 33 husbands, they will be able to tame them down a little bit. But as he gave them and betrothed them to be married, he overheard them plotting how each one of them was going to figure out how to slit the throats of their husbands. So they were so wicked that no matter what, he couldn't contain them. So then, according to Diocletian, this is all Roman whatever, academia, Diocletian sent his 33 wicked daughters on a ship with half a year's rations, pushed them off the coast of France, right? Because that's where the Gauls were and the Roman Empire was expanding there. And they drifted presumably across the English Channel, where they settled on these isles in this isle nation, which we know as the UK or Great Britain at that time, right? And it goes on to say, this is the account, and I kid you not, this is the account from all the writers of Diocletian, that it was with the help of demons who came and taught them things on the island and taught them how to populate this wild, windswept island by producing a people group with a race of giants that already inhabited the island. Diocletian. That's what it says. 33 wicked daughters taught by demons how to do this thing with giants on the British Isles and then propagate that all around the face of the earth through the merchants of Tarsus. By the way, what is the highest level of Freemasonry that you can achieve? Interesting, 33. And what is it is the blank right Freemasonry. What is it? Scottish. Oh, interesting. This is Scottish right Freemasonry. Oh, and Winston Churchill was the highest ranking Druidic priest. There is a reason why he gave the peace symbol. It means nothing about peace. Do your research. It has nothing to do with a peace symbol. That V is a high level Druidic occultic symbol. Oh, wait, who was Wilson and what was he into? Oh, that's right. They're all 33-degree Freemasons and high-level Druidic Celtic priests. All of them. All of them. And then what did they form it in World War II? And who did they raise up? Oh, the Aryans in Germany to accomplish a very particular ends, to get the United Nations, to then come over here and create the nation of Palestine so then they could rule and reign their Antichrist out from their temple, out from Jerusalem as a finger in the eye of God. Is everybody tracking, or am I saying too much stuff all at one time? It's all connected. It's all insanely connected. We have to understand this so that we have our eyes wide open in the lateness of this hour. So, Diocletian, I digress. To this day, these 2 wicker giants that are at the head of the longest running, most highly venerated procession in the history of humanity from the city of London from the British Isles that was founded by 33 wicked daughters of Diocletian, who, with the help of demons, procreated with giants to create a particular race, and then spread out with young lions and made colonies all over the face of the world to carry forward the secret occultic teachings of this reality. The two guys at the head of this procession are none other than Gog and Magog. They are the patron deities and protectorates of the city of London, are Gog and Magog to this day. And it's actually called the Festival of Gog and Magog. Did you know that? So now think of the depth of what Ezekiel 38 and 39 is actually speaking to. When he says, I'm coming against you, Gog, and all your hordes, and all your armies with it, and the Scythians, and the Magogians, and the Persians, and Cush, and Put, and Tergama, and the Sheba and Dedan, and these guys are going, what in the world's going on? And he goes, oh, and by the way, and when I allow you to do this thing, I'm going to allow you to do this thing to my people Israel, which we are. Who's doing the two-state solution? Who's dividing the land of Israel? Wait, who created Hezbollah? Who created Hamas? Wait, who overthrew the Shah in Iran and imposed an Ayatollah theocratic Prince of Persia worshipping 12 imamer? Who did that? Oh, we did. That's right. Wait, who fomented Ukraine to do this with Russia and blah, blah, blah? Who did World War I? Who did World War II? Oh, we got United Nations. No, we got the League of Nations. Then we got the United Nations. And now we're going to get the beast system. So who is the hidden hand that's doing all this stuff with principalities of Gog and Magog and Prince of Persia and Gog and Prince of Persia and all these other things? It's all connected. It's all connected. So when he says, I'm going to come against you, Gog, with fire, single day, single hour, so smoke arising from, I'm coming against you and that land of unwalled villages that sits in presumed security, thinking nothing's ever going to happen to them. When I come against you, I'm also coming against the isles and the coastlands, and I'm going to do business with them at the exact same time. Make sense? Man, Gog and Magog. To this very day, Gog and Magog in the city of London symbolize the links between modern business institutions and the city and its ancient history. And there is, although there's been many rebirths, it is symbolized by the phoenix on the shield of Gog and Magog and the procession, this eagle that arises from the ashes to establish a novus order seclorum. Wait, what's it say on the back of your dollar bill? What's it say on the back of your dollar bill? Novus Ordo Seclorum. How many stones are in that pyramid? Oh, that's right, 33. Oh, but the all-seeing eye of it's not quite finished yet. That eye, the all-seeing eye of Lucifer, the light bearer of the whole world, it's not completed yet, but it's going to be in the future. It's going to be completed in the future. We have a long game. And by the way, if you haven't ever noticed, it's not an eagle. Just like it wasn't an eagle in Rome. It's not an eagle in Russia. Have you noticed we all have the same symbol? All of us have the same national symbol because it's a phoenix. And it's the phoenix, that same phoenix that's on the shield of Gog and Magog. Still, today, in the procession of the city of London. Is everybody following me? Are you guys awake? Am I connecting dots here? By the way, side note, Diocletian, who we mentioned is how the British Isles trace their history to Diocletian. Diocletian is known to this day for his conquest of the Persians and his assimilation of the Aryan race. And Diocletian is known to this day as the greatest persecutor and massacrer of Christians in history. Did you know that? That's who founded the British Isles. So now you see how we get up to our current context. So, I make no apologies to the revisionist historians that want to go, oh, geez, America is a Christian nation. No, it's not. America is a nation that has Christians. Iran is a nation that has Christians. China is a nation that has Christians. America is not a Christian nation. Do you know who Benjamin Franklin was? And the Hellfire Club and all these things? Do you know who Thomas Jefferson was? Do you know who George Washington was? Do you know why it's called the District of Columbia? Do you know why they moved it from New York down there? Why is every edifice Roman? Why did they literally recreate the Temple of Pergamon? What's the Temple of Pergamon spoken of as in the scriptures? The seat of Satan. Why is Moloch, the entire layout of the capital, Moloch? Why is there a dome-shaped building across from an Egyptological obelisk with a reflecting pool as above, so below? Why is every single inauguration of every president, including George Washington, only done by the Scottish Rite Freemasons that are 33-degree Freemasons? That is exactly 13 blocks down from the Capitol building, where they perform the Rising of Osiris ceremony at every inauguration of every president, including Washington. Why? Why does your dollar bill look like this occultic freak show, hot mess vomited on the back of your dollar bill? And why is it the most widely circulated currency in the history of humanity over all the face of the earth? Why? This is all going somewhere. So when you read Ezekiel 38 and 39, when you read Revelation 18, when you read Jeremiah 50, 51, you ought to be paying very close attention. But unfortunately, most people don't even know what they're looking at. So I make no apologies for the revisionist historians that don't like the idea of their patriotic nationalism being overthrown. By the way, I had somebody created a Reddit page for me where it's saying that I'm an occult leader who believes in the rapture and is preparing people for a suicide death cult in the year 2025 because I'm a white nationalistic patriot that listens to QAnon and whatever, all these things. I'm like, I'm literally the exact opposite of all that. Like, literally the exact opposite of all that. I'm not nationalistic. I don't subscribe to the rapture. I don't care if anybody does. I totally am tracking. I love you. That's awesome. I see exactly how you arrived at the conclusion. I don't say anything about 2025. I'm definitely not a death cult leader. I say live and live to honor the Lord with every ounce of your being and learn how to love people on all these things. But it's like, it's insane because they have this perspective of what this nation is, and it's a complete lie. It's a complete lie. There's a reason why it's called the District of Columbia, and they've laid it out the way they have. So, don't forget who rose up the German Workers' Party, who made Hitler the Time Magazine of the Year, Huxley brothers who did all that, the industry titans who went over there. Don't forget who unified the once disparate Arab nations and the competing factions to organize them into a coalition against the Jews, even making the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem an honorary Aryan. If you didn't know that, they made him an honorary Aryan, the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem at the time, who identified all the instability in the Levant through the Lord Balfour and initiated the Balfour Declaration to do what they're doing in the Middle East today. Don't forget who overthrew the Shah and installed the Shia Islamic theocratic Persian Empire leader who believes in the 12th Imam and what they have to do to bring about the Mahdi. Don't forget who assimilated the Ottomans and the Turks and created a League of Nations after World War I. Oh, who fomented World War I? You can say Germans, but it wasn't. You have to do your history. Who fomented World War II? You can see the Germans, but it wasn't. There was somebody undergirding that. Who initiated the war in Ukraine? Is it the Ukrainians? It's not the Ukrainians. How about Rwanda and with the Hutu and the Tutsis? Who initiated that? How about Bosnia and Herzegovina and Kosovo? Who initiated that? How about what's going on in the Congo? Who's initiating that? How about 20-something years of GWOT, Global War on Terrorism? Who's the only one that's dropped a nuclear bomb? Who's the one that is the land of graven images? Every single capital in every state, in every city has a graven image to the true deities that they're from Portlandia to District of Columbia to the statue of Isis, Ishtar, Semiramis, Inanna. To the city of angels. What angels? Nobody asked that. Nobody asked! What's going on here? What's going on in this land of graven images? I digress. Okay. Don't forget who undergirded the Bolsheviks after deposing the czars. Don't forget who reanimated the Roman Empire, whose every edifices and governments and processions and national iconography are exact replicas of the Roman Empire. Who was Wilson? Who was Churchill? Who was Washington? Who was Franklin? Who was Jefferson? Who forced the League of Nations? Who forced the United Nations? Where is all global banking based out of? Where is it all based out of? Where is it based out of? City of London. Wall Street is subservient to the City of London. Did you know that? So the International Monetary Fund and the Bank of International Settlements are all subservient to the city of London. The love of money is the root of all evil. It is the control mechanism of all the world. And they have assimilated the Vatican as well too into that. So there's bigger play here that most people don't understand. Which nation upholds and preserves the highest level of mystery religions and occultic practices and the most wide-scale ritualistic sacrifice of children ever in human history? Which nation? It's not China. It's not Russia. It's not France. It's not any African. It's not Central and South America. There's only one place. How many stones? How many steps? What is Novus Ordo Seclorum? Why in the world is there a pyramid? Why is there an obelisk? Why is there a recreated Temple of Pergamon? Why is there a rising of Osiris? What in the world does an augur mean? To inaugurate? Do you know what an augur is? I'm not going to tell you. Go look it up. We're the ones that inaugurate. Why is it called a capital? Nobody else calls their sinners capitals. It's the Capitolium of Jupiter. It's a high pagan temple, the same temple that God destroyed nations over and over and over and over for, including, where's the place where all the people got hit with Mount Vesuvius? What's that place? Pompeii? It's because it was the highest temple of Jupiter in all the land. That's why God destroyed Pompeii. And then we name our place the capital, the Capitolium of Jupiter. See, we don't understand these things. When God talks about these ruling principalities doing these things, he's dead serious. So nothing is quite as it seems. I could go on forever and ever and ever. Who is initiating the Abraham Accords and the two-state solution through Talmudic, Babylonian, and Kabbalistic means to accomplish this thing? Who's doing it? Who's doing it? None other than the city of London with her young lions through the prince of Persia and the Magogians under the supernatural rulership of Gog. Now do you understand Ezekiel 38 and 39? So you look at DC, you look at London, you look at the Great Seal on the world's reserve currency. You look at the Scottish Rite Freemasonry, as in the British Isles Freemasonry that has corrupted the whole world with its dark arts. You look at the Shriners and their wicked red fez hat with its ancient Arabic order, the mystic shrine symbol from the Ottoman Empire, which is dedicated to both Lucifer and Baal in their devotion to the sword that's on every one of their stupid little red fez hats, to the killing of Jews and Christians. Then you look at the crest of ancient Rome. Then you look at the crest of English royalty today. Then you look at King Charles' crest in particular. Now look at the crest of the czars of Russia and Serbia and the Caucasus. Look at the crest of the Holy Roman Empire that today is still alive and well. You look at the crest of the German Confederation and the Austro-Hungarians and of the Nazi Reich. And you look at the crest of the Turks and the Muslim world from Anatolia to Egypt and North African nations. And as far as India and the great walls are ramparts of Gog and Magog. Every single one of them has the exact same crest and seal. Exact same. Because they are the Magogians and the Aryans from the Prince of Persia and Gog of the Magogians. They're all unified. They're totally unified in what is happening. They have complete unity. Now, I can't say complete. There's always factions, right? There's always infighting. The house is Satan. They're satanic, right? So there's always going to be infightings. But for lack of a better word, because of these ruling principalities, they are unified in effort of the end goal, which is to lay waste God's people, both Jews, soon to be Messianic, and Christians, so that they can rule and reign out from what God has said is the apple of his eye and his special possession. It's open warfare against the holy God. That's where they're taking it all. And it's happening in real time, and nobody has a clue. Well, Trump said he's brokering a peace deal, and there's a ceasefire for 60 days. Don't be deceived. No. Don't be deceived. Dragons and double-headed phoenixes in homage to Gog and Magog, all the peoples under his rule, and their insatiable, soon coming to fruition decimation of God's people is what unifies them all. Again, it says in verse 6, I will send fire on Magog and on those who live in safety, those who live in a false confidence in the coastlands, all who live carelessly in the isles, and they will know that I am God. God's getting ready to do business. He's pulling Gog and the Prince of Persia out. He's allowing them to be used for his ends to do what he's going to do, because the end goal actually isn't about you. And it actually isn't about these nation states. What's the end goal for God? A repentant heart of his people, the Jews. That's his end goal. Way bigger battle plan that he's working off of. And it's for the repentance of the hearts of his Jews, that they will look on him who they've pierced. They will acknowledge Jesus is Messiah. Can you imagine hearing that in mass from there? They're so angry. They hate Jesus. They hate Jesus. You go to Israel and try to proselytize. Go to Israel and think that you're unified because you're of the Abrahamic faith. Good luck with that. They will beat the snot out of you in the street. The Orthodox Jews will, and the parents will be cheering it on as the 12-year-olds are working you. And God's like, I'm coming for my people. I'm coming for my people. Now, as a disclaimer, this is one of the areas why people subscribe to the rapture, and I go, I'm totally tracking with what I understand what you're saying here. Like, intellectually, I understand. And they say the reason why the church is gone at this point, because everything is about the Jews. Everything's about the regenerate heart of the Jews looking on him who they've pierced. So the church would be removed somewhere around this time frame. That's what very guys I respect and I love. That's where they lean. I go, dude, totally tracking with how you arrived at that. I don't lean that way, but I understand that I don't subscribe to the rapture. But if anybody's never heard me say that plainly, because I tried to say I don't subscribe to it, but man, I'm hopeful. Maybe I'm wrong. That'd be so awesome to be like, dude, I'm wrong. Oh, crud. And the earth is flat too. I was super wrong. And that's fine. And be like, oh, wow, it really is. There is a firmament. And yeah, and birds are all drones. They're fake. They land on power lines to recharge. Do you know that that's what they believe? They actually believe there's no such thing as birds. So anyways. But if I'm getting raptured out of here and realize that the earth is flat, I don't think I'll be concerned that my theology was wrong. I'll be like, yes, this is awesome. So anyways, I digress. This is where some people say that because of the Jewish-centric nature, in particular of Ezekiel 38, 39, obviously Zechariah and Amos and Hosea, all kinds of other scriptures, that they arrive at that conclusion that the church is gone because God's doing business with Israel. And he's got to put a spanking to them first in ways we don't understand, to where Gog and Magog are super successful. So don't anybody think, yeah, we just punched the Persians in their mouth. No, you didn't. Do you not know the scriptures? Dude, they're coming at you full force. They're coming into Jerusalem proper. They are almost taking the city. Then God shows up. And what again reads as if it's a nuclear conflagration, right? I digress. So now, as the nations gather, as Israel is actively being divided by this administration at the behest of London, it's only at the behest of London, as Russia, China, Iran, Turkey, and North Africa and the Muslim world mobilize and amass, as red heifers and temple vestments are being prepared and are in waiting, as the hooks are being set firmly in the jaws of the Magogians and all the different nations that come with them and their ruling principalities, as Gog and the Prince of Persia and Apollo and Apollyon began their last great offensive, and as the most powerful leaders of the known world proclaim with all hubris, peace and security, peace and prosperity from the distant coastlands and a land of unwalled villages living in perceived safety, you tell me, what do you think comes next? What do you think comes next? This is all just hyperbolic and sensational and clickbaity and fear-mongering? I mean, what do you guys think comes next? Seems pretty clear, doesn't it? I don't know the timing. I know he says suddenly, as when labor pains come upon a woman. Suddenly, in an instant, suddenly, the wall that you put your hope in, cracked and bulging, suddenly, in an instant, it breaks so thoroughly that there's not even a pot shard with which to scoop the coals out of the fire. Suddenly, in a single day, single hour, in the suddenly, in the instant, in the instant, in the suddenly. That's what I know. Days of Noah, days of Lot. Everything's totally normal till they're not. And that was Dr. Seuss for you for the day. Everything's totally normal till they're not. Days of Noah, days of Lot, everything's normal till they're not. That's what it says. Everything's totally normal. It's totally normal. Seems pretty normal, right? We talk about this all the time. Normal. I'm going to go do something with my kids today. I'm going to go hiking or something. Totally normal. We gathered for 4th of July. Awesome. That was awesome, by the way. It's super fun to hang out with everybody. Totally normal. Yeah, little bombs over there. Little skirmish over here. By the way, they're not little skirmishes. Do you know what the death toll is in Ukraine? That our media won't tell you because we're the ones doing it? 1 million. 1 million KIA. Do you know how many troops we lost in a total of 23 years of fighting a global war on terrorism? It's like 13,000, up to 17,000. 22 years of fighting, that's all we lost. You think we have the stomach for 1 million killed in 2.5 years of conflict? Did you guys know that? These aren't little skirmishes. Israel, Iran, what's going on, Hamas, Gaza. Oh, by the way, if you're not aware of Gaza, what do they call it? Trump Gaza instead of Trump Plaza? Do you know what it says about the Antichrist? By the way, I'm stating this empirically again, as many times as I have to for the online whatever morons. I do not believe Trump is the Antichrist. I've never once said that. I've never once subscribed to that. I believe he's a forerunner. He's a counterfeit John the Baptist or whatever. I believe he's just a guy playing a role. He's just playing a role. I don't believe Trump's the Antichrist. So as I say this, don't take my words out of context. It's interesting that they've lay-wasted Gaza and that Kushner, who's another mogul, who's Kabbalist, right? So these are of the synagogue of Satan that say they're Jews, but they're not. That's Kabbalism. Has said that they're going to rebuild this whole thing with this multi-billion, whatever, however many billion-dollar project and make it like the Dubai of the Mediterranean in Gaza. And that's where they're going to set up some main central high-end crazy buildings is in Gaza. Did you know what it says about the Antichrist? And he will set up his tents between the great sea and Mount Zion. And that is where he will rule and reign out of. That's the Gaza Strip that is right now being bulldozed, leveled. All the infrastructure is being put back in, and they're already rebuilding mega high-end buildings and skyscrapers in the city right now in real time. So, again, as we discuss all these things, what do you think comes next? La-di-da, wait for the next election, things will turn around. Peace and security, peace and prosperity. Oh, phew, a ceasefire. Oh man, a ceasefire over here. Oh, a ceasefire over here. Oh, the tariffs got reduced over here. Oh, they worked out this over here. Oh, they worked out this over here. Hey, we're good to go, man. We are good to go. We are not so good to go. It says then, when they're saying this, then sudden destruction comes. Sudden destruction and fire in all the cities, smoke arising from every city. And then you get to Ezekiel 39, where it reads just like a nuclear conflagration. Is it? I don't know. It's conjecture. It is conjecture, but man, does it rhyme. Man, does it rhyme. The fire falling from the skies and its effect and what it does. It really rhymes with a lot of what we know contemporarily on how this all plays out. So, that's a wrap.